Alara was just a new maid, barely noticed, barely trusted. But when she found the magnate's daughter barely breathing, with no staff around and the mansion silent, she panicked. No calls were going through. No help was coming. So she did the unthinkable, broke into his locked study, grabbed the car keys and a bundle of cash, and sped off with the girl. Minutes later, alarms blared. Security tracked her down, pinned her in the hospital, and arrested her. But then the doctor pulled Donovan aside, and what he said left the magnate frozen in place. What happened next stunned everyone watching. Before we go any further, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if this story moves you, drop your thoughts in the comments and share it with a friend. Now, let's begin. Alara Hayes didn't enter the Sterling mansion like a storm. She came in quiet, like a soft knock on her back door that nobody answered right away. It had been 3 days since she got hired. Nobody asked her why she kept her shoes tied so tight or why her knuckles were cracked. They just handed her a mop, gave her the corner bedroom meant for the help, and kept it moving. This was the Sterling estate, a fortress of white pillars and glass walls tucked deep in the hills where the gates didn't just keep danger out. They kept stories like hers out, too. Donovan Sterling, the man who owned it all, didn't speak to staff. Not unless you were holding something expensive or breaking something more. Though he ran tech, traded stocks in 5 countries, and lived like emotion was a liability. His world wasn't cold, it was temperature-controlled. And then there was Mia, his daughter, 10 years old, delicate as spun glass, but cursed with a chronic illness. She didn't talk much either. Not to the chefs, not to the chauffeurs, not even to her father. Most days she stayed upstairs in the sunroom wrapped in soft sweaters and silence. Alara noticed. Of course she did. Mia's footsteps weren't loud. They were shuffles. Her smiles didn't last long. They cracked like dry paint. But still nobody really looked close. They just made sure her medication was topped up, the rooms were dust-free, and her food was warm. That was enough. Apparently, Alara wasn't supposed to ask questions, but the questions kept whispering anyway. Why did the nurse leave early last night? Why was the girl trembling in the hallway near the bathroom yesterday? Why did nobody flinch? On her 4th morning, Alara carried a breakfast tray up to the 2nd floor. She paused outside Mia's room, knocked once, no answer. She opened it slowly. Mia was on the floor, not passed out, just curled up, eyes open, breathing slow, hands tucked under a small frame like she was hugging herself from the inside. Alara froze in the doorway. Not panic, not even fear, just a strange, heavy stillness. She placed the tray down, didn't say anything, didn't ask anything. She just sat cross-legged beside her. Quiet. After a long silence, Mia whispered, "It hurts today." Alara nodded. "I know." That moment didn't change the world. Not yet, but something shifted. Something soft and invisible. Downstairs in the service hallway near the laundry chute, 2 older maids whispered over folded towels. "I give her a week," one said, smoothing out a sheet. "She's too soft for this place." "She got that look," the other muttered, like she's seen struggle. "And struggle don't last long round here." They chuckled, looked up. Alara passed silently behind them, arms full of pillowcases. She didn't say a word, but she heard every syllable. That evening, the house glowed with gold light. Donovan arrived home late. Mia didn't greet him. He didn't expect her to. Alara cleaned the upstairs study while glancing at the locked office door at the far end. Security sensors blinked right above it. High clearance, off limits, not her business, but even from outside, she could hear something ticking. Maybe it was the clock. Or maybe it was just time waiting to run out. The morning started heavy. Storm clouds hovered low over the hills, making the mansion feel dim, even with all the lights on. Donovan had flown out just before sunrise. Business in Tokyo or London or somewhere that didn't require him to say goodbye. Alara moved through her routine like clockwork. But something felt off. Mia hadn't come down for breakfast. By 9 a.m., The head maid was complaining about the wrong detergent order. By 10 o'clock, the other staff were focused on getting the outdoor patio spotless for some investor dinners scheduled next week. Mia, nobody mentioned her. Alara hesitated outside her room again. Something in her chest tugged. She knocked twice. No answer. She opened the door and time slowed. Mia was lying halfway off the bed, drenched in sweat. Her hands were shaking, lips dry. Her body curled unnaturally, like it was fighting itself from the inside. The room smelled sharp like plastic and fear. Alara dropped to her knees beside her.
Mia.
The girl's eyelids fluttered. Her breath was ragged, like she was breathing through broken glass. Alara's own hands trembled. She reached for the emergency call button by the wall.
It was dead.
She sprinted to the hallway phone, dialed the nurse on record, straight to voicemail. She dialed Donovan's number. 4 rings, then 5, then nothing. She tried again and again.
Still nothing.
She slammed the receiver down. Downstairs, the other maids were laughing about something near the pantry. Alara burst into the hallway, breath quick, eyes wild. I need anyone to help. Mia's. We don't go upstairs without clearance, one interrupted, not even turning. She needs a hospital now. The second waved her off, annoyed. We'll inform the estate manager. That's the process. Process. Alara's fingers curled into fists. She turned on her heel, ran back upstairs. Mia was barely conscious now, her chest rising too fast, too shallow. She looked at the hallway, then at the far end, the locked office, Donovan's private study. She'd never been in there, but she had cleaned near it enough to notice something most wouldn't. A tiny keyhole above the doorknob and the key. It always hung from the red tag beside the basement cleaning supplies. She remembered because the tag was labeled "Do Not Remove," but she did. She ran downstairs, yanked the key from its hook. Nobody saw her. She sprinted back. The door clicked open. The room was pure silence. Leather, glass, and money. Framed awards, a wall safe, an electric car key fob on the polished desk. And next to it, a black clip fat with $1,000 bills. She hesitated. Not for long. Alara scooped Mia into her arms trembling, not from fear, but from the sheer effort of carrying a sick child half her size. She bolted down the hall. Every corner of the mansion seemed to scream at her. The cameras, the blinking lights, the invisible rules.
She didn't care.
She pushed through the front door, cradling Mia like glass. She reached the garage. The car recognized the key instantly. The door hissed open. The soft white seats lit up. She laid Mia gently across the passenger side, belted her in, whispered, "Hold on." Then she climbed in, slammed the door shut, and hit the accelerator. The tires squealed as the car pulled out of the estate. A moment later, back at the mansion, an alarm blared. Security screens lit up red. Unauthorized access. Study breach. Vehicle missing. Inside the car, Alara's fingers clutched the wheel. Her breath came short. Mia's head leaned back. Her skin looked gray now. The GPS blinked. She ignored it. She knew the fastest hospital. Not the closest, the best. Traffic blurred. Horns screamed. Her heart pounded louder than the road beneath her. In her head, she repeated it like a prayer. Hold on. Just hold on. Behind her, 2 black SUVs were already pulling out of the mansion. Security had tracked the vehicle's location, and she had no idea they were coming. The hospital entrance glowed sterile white as the car screeched to a halt in the emergency lane. Alara didn't wait for anyone to open the door. She leapt out, flung it open, unbuckled Mia, and carried her like she weighed nothing, though every step felt like dragging a mountain uphill. Help! She gasped as she burst through the sliding doors. Please, someone. She's got a chronic illness. She can't breathe. Nurses rushed toward her. A crash cart followed. Mia was laid onto a gurney like a porcelain doll, her limbs too still. Doctors shouted in clipped urgency. Someone asked, "Parent or guardian?" She just said, "I'm the maid. I'm the maid." But there was no one else. They didn't press. They wheeled Mia away fast. And suddenly, silence. Just Alara standing alone in the center of that blinding lobby. The weight of it all hit her. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to drive. She wasn't supposed to touch the money. She wasn't supposed to matter. But none of those rules had helped Mia. And now the weight turned real. Outside, tires screeched. 2 black SUVs flanked the hospital's front. Estate security poured out. 4 men in matching navy jackets, radios at their shoulders, faces tight. They didn't shout. They didn't ask questions. One pointed, "That's her." Alara didn't run, didn't flinch. She just turned slowly as they approached. They surrounded her without a word, wrists already in cuffs before she could blink. A nurse inside the sliding door shouted, "Hey, what are you doing?" She brought in a patient. One of the guards replied coldly, "She stole a magnate's vehicle and cash. She's under arrest." Donovan Sterling arrived 15 minutes later. Tailored gray suit, rolled sleeves, cold eyes. He walked in like he owned the building because in some way he probably did. The head of security approached him. "She's in holding. Local PD is en route. We recovered the vehicle. Still counting the cash." Donovan's jaw flexed. "And the girl?" "Just stabilizing her now. Barely got her in time." He didn't respond. Just stood there, still, hands in his pockets. A doctor approached. Mid-50s, calm but firm. "You're Donovan Sterling?" He nodded. The doctor sighed. "Mr. Sterling, I need you to understand something. Your daughter has a chronic illness, which means when a crisis hits, minutes matter. Seconds even. If that young woman hadn't gotten her here when she did." He paused. "She would have died." That word echoed like it didn't belong in the room. Donovan blinked. Once, twice. "Your phones were off. Your staff were unreachable. Your security protocol too slow. That girl saved her.
Not you.
Not your systems. Her." The doctor walked away. Donovan just stood there, staring at the floor tiles in the small, cold holding room down the hall. Alara sat with her hands still cuffed, shoulders tense, sweat drying on her neck. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She just stared at the wall. The door opened. She turned slowly. Donovan stepped in. Alone. No guards, no lawyers. He looked at her for the first time. Really looked at her. She met his gaze. Eyes red but unafraid. For a long moment, they didn't say anything. And then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a small silver key, uncuffed her wrists. No words. "Come with me," he said quietly. She didn't move until he added, "She's asking for you." The hallway leading to room 214 was quiet. Too quiet for a place that had just witnessed life clinging by a thread. Donovan walked ahead. Alara followed, her steps light but unsure, like her feet didn't trust the floor not to vanish. Inside the room, Mia lay tucked under a sea of pale blue blankets, and 4 dripped slowly. Her breathing was steadier now, softer. Her tiny fingers tapped against her blanket, almost like she was counting something only she could hear. When she saw Alara, her face lit up just for a second. "Alara," she whispered. It was the only voice in the room that didn't ask anything of her. Alara stepped forward, took her hand gently. Donovan stood back watching. Later that evening, when the sky turned pink and the city lights blinked on like they were waking from a long nap, something changed. Donovan walked out of the hospital room, not as a magnate, but as a father who had finally seen someone else step up when he hadn't, and the guilt sat heavy on his chest. By morning, the internet had caught wind of the story. Not the truth, just whispers. Maid arrested for stealing magnate's car. Possible kidnapping. Sources say the daughter was in critical condition. People didn't wait for context. They fed off assumptions. But by noon, something nobody expected happened. A press release from Donovan Sterling's office stating he'd be making a public statement that evening live. It caught everyone off guard, including his staff. That night, cameras flashed. Reporters jostled for space on the Sterling lawn. The mansion gates opened like a curtain rising on a stage. Donovan stood behind the podium. No tie, no assistant whispering notes. Beside him, Alara, Not in a uniform, in a modest gray dress someone had pressed for her just minutes before. Her hair pulled back, shoulders square, but her hands still trembled slightly. Donovan took a breath. Then he spoke. "Last night, my daughter nearly died, and the only reason she's alive today is because of the woman standing beside me. She broke rules, yes, but sometimes rules are the problem. No one else acted. No one else ran. No one else cared the way she did. Alara Hayes did what I couldn't, and the world should know her name." There was a pause, then a wave of murmurs. Reporters leaned forward. Camera shutters clicked in rapid fire. "Effective immediately," Donovan continued. "Alara will not only remain in my household, she will never work as a maid again. I've created a trust in her name, and she will oversee our family's medical outreach foundation going forward." Alara turned toward him, stunned. He wasn't done. "Because if we're going to build systems that protect children like my daughter, they need to be led by people who act, not just speak." Inside the mansion that night, the whispers were different. "She's staying," one staff member muttered behind a curtain. "More than staying," another replied. "She's running things now." Alara walked past them and smiled, not out of spite, but because for the first time in her life, she wasn't walking on eggshells. She was walking on her ground. Mia recovered slowly, but every week she grew stronger, and every time she laughed, it echoed through the same walls that once tried to silence the girl who saved her. They had called her just a maid. But now she was the woman who rewrote the rules. And the magnate who once didn't see her was the first to stand beside her when the world finally did. Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who show up when it counts. Alara wasn't just a maid. She was the reason a little girl got a second chance at life. So the next time you're tempted to judge someone by their position, remember what this maid risked and what she became. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to be reminded. Real heroes don't wait for permission, they act. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.